So somebody, because we bill for ours, so,
There's
you
no,
know, the contracts come from here, we get copies of the
I said,
contract.
really,
We fill them out, we double check with Jake, and so, but, so
we don't
Brandon,
make people wait in our ER. Like,
somebody in
you
Kent.
start getting
So
testing
Brian will
right
be in
away.
tomorrow,
You may
I'm gonna
have a
get
lot
on
of
Brian,
patients,
I'm gonna ask
but
Brian,
they
like, hey
start
Brian, what
testing
happened?
right away.
How did that? I
and
know.
we have doctors from around the world that read radiologists. So if something's
Okay.
abnormal, they're calling, hey,
All right, I'd like to go back on the record for our special meeting. Do we have a motion to come out of executive session?
So moved?
second,
Mr. Maravich?
Yes.
Ms. Michael?
yes.
Mr. Kelfy?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Ms. Lodato? Ms. Harper?
Okay, we have no other business for this special meeting. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, our special meeting is adjourned. We can now start our committee meetings.
Okay, I'd like to call the Personnel Committee meeting to order at 6:01. The first item that we have on our agenda is the water billing meter superintendent, changing this position to utilities superintendent. And this recommendation is coming to us from Mr. Content, the service director, and involves some changes in responsibilities that are necessary in our water treatment system. So, Mr. Content, if you could briefly share with us the reasoning for this change.
Reason for the change is basically a recommendation from the EPA to get in line with their rules and regulations as it applies to our sewer collection system. Basically, this position change would go to a utility superintendent, which would be in charge of that sewer collection system. He would become the operator of record for the EPA, as amongst other duties as assigned, and he would still be the water billing superintendent, but just be added additional responsibilities to that position.
Okay. So all of the responsibilities of the water billing meter superintendent are included in this new job?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay. Mr. Richkowski, did you have any additional that you wanted to add regarding this? Okay. With that, Personnel Committee folks, Mr. Harper, what's your thoughts?
I'm in support of the change
Okay,
to move forward.
okay, and Ms. West?
I'm not on the committee.
Oh, you're not? I'm looking at the empty chair. It's just you and me.
I'm supportive
It's
too,
you.
so
So,
thanks.
Two makes a majority.
yeah, two makes a majority. So we'd like to send this one forward. Okay? Next item that we have on here is compensation of employees. And this is a recommendation to adjust the pay for the Assistant Chief of Police position. In our most recent negotiations, the difference between the Assistant Chief's pay and the Sergeant's pay was narrowed and compressed because of a settlement that of the police contract. And in this case, we want to make an adjustment to the Assistant Chief's salary range. So this recommendation calls for increasing it a half a range in 2026, a half a range in 2027, moving him up to range 26 from 25. The other parts of this recommendation includes the Chief of Police receiving a one-time $2,000 firearms qualification bonus, and the Fire Chief to receive a one-time $2,000 bonus for paramedic licensure and inspector licensure. So those are the three recommendations coming forward from HR on this. Questions, Mr. Harper?
No questions. I'm in favor of the,
You're in favor of it? Ms. Ruchkowski, any additional? Okay. Okay. With that, the recommendation then, Mr. Harper, would be to move this forward.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Those are the first two items that we have and went pretty quickly. Heather, and that's all. You're okay. You can leave. That look in your eyes about, do I have to stay? No, you don't. The next item on our agenda is a discussion of the appointed law director position. This came up on April 13th during a committee meeting, a planning committee meeting, where we talked about making the law director position an appointed position. There was much discussion about it, and in that discussion, we were moving pretty fast, talking about should we change it, why should we change it, et cetera. Some people gave their opinion, not everyone did. At that time, the decision was made, well, hey, you know, it'll go to committee of the whole. It went to the committee of the whole. When we went there was some additional revelations made about how we handled this when when the finance director position changed. And we were able to find out in that review that we didn't take action to change the finance director position until after no one chose to run for the position. So at that time, with the committee of the whole, it was decided, let's put it back in personnel. Let's talk about some of these issues, because other issues that came up were full-time, part-time, whether we should preempt the process that we have in place, which is the election, and do we, by saying we want to change it before the election takes place, are we preempting the process that we have and has been in place for 50 years? So tonight, we're going to talk about those issues. It'll take a little bit of time, but at the end of the discussion, what the reality is, if council wants to move it forward for a change in the charter, to change it to an appointed position, there has to be 5 votes in favor of that. So if there is not 5 votes in favor of it, it is worthless for us to go through all the discussion of are we going to change it, how we're going to change it, et cetera, if we don't have 5 votes. So I guess at the end of our discussion tonight, I'm going to ask people to get on the record of, are they in support of it going to the voters for a charter change from City Council? Okay?
Just a couple of clarifications. One, it was mentioned several times at that April 13th meeting that we should be following the procedure we followed, that you mentioned, for the finance director. And the reason it's now in the Personnel Committee is because when that happened, it was in the Personnel Committee. So I just want to make that clarification. The other clarification is it has to get out of your committee before it goes anywhere else. So you still need 2 votes to get it to move forward at this point.
Okay. So everybody around the table has full voice, even though it's a committee meeting. And I want to reiterate that everyone can have their own opinion. We're entitled to our own opinion and 1 vote. And that's what we're entitled to in discussions like this. So I'd like to just go back and just say briefly, we have had and I'm sorry, my position has changed. After talking with the law director, talking with the mayor, thinking about and ruminating on whether we're preempting the process that we have of allowing people to vote, we're actually saying that we're going to fix a problem possibly before the problem has even emerged. We don't know if there be someone, a Ravenna citizen that's a lawyer that wants to serve as law director. If there is such a person out there, good. If not, maybe we then look at our procedure of making it an appointed position. If the election comes and nobody signs up to run, we have to appoint somebody, city council does, to fill the position, okay? So let's go through and talk about some of the things about it. Benefits of the elected position, we've had it for 50 years and it's worked, you know? Sometimes Mr. Semino's had opposition and someone's run against him, someone not, but we've had that in place. There are benefits, or some people believe there are benefits, to an independent law director. There's been in the history in the past where the independent law director is very important to have that position when possibly someone in the administration may be wanting to take a course of action that is not appropriate. And that has happened in the past. That has happened in the past. A benefit of keeping the elected law director is that's the way we're set up for it. It's an elected position. And if we take that away preemptively, are we taking away the way the system works? Okay? I guess I want to let people kind of chime in. What are you thinking right now? We can talk more about, we talked about appointing someone. Yes, we can appoint somebody, but one of the arguments was, well, if we don't like what they're doing, that's easy to change. Well, that's not really that easy to change, because in the charter, there is a section on removal of elected and appointed people, appointed officials. And in that section, the only way in which an appointed person is removed is they commit a felony or they commit crimes of moral turpitude, which are murder, rape, really serious crime. Not being a good law director does not qualify you to be dismissed, or I don't like the way that you have been operating. You don't just say no to that person, fire that person. The other thing is, we talked about, well, we have the conflict of the Charter Commission and the election, and that may be all coming together at one time. I don't know, If nobody signs up to run, we'll know that by February.
We know there is, though, don't we? Know there's someone's going to run. That's pretty much known.
Oh, you know somebody that's going to run for law director?
It's been talked about, I'm
really?
sure.
Who's that?
I don't know the name, but I mean, there's somebody in Mr. Semino's building that has expressed wanting to run. I mean, we know there's people that want to run here locally.
I think there may be a couple.
So, yeah, there are people that want to run. That's not the question here about finding a Ravenna resident. The pool that we have here is dwindling down, okay, to what Ravenna used to be, where we used to have attorneys and doctors living amongst our neighborhoods. We used to have a lot of them, but now our pool is dwindling down, and we're not getting the pool that we used to have, unfortunately, because we don't have the neighborhoods like we used to have years ago. And so it concerns me that with some of these positions that, such as a law director, a mayor, some of these positions that, have a huge impact on our city, you know, what are we going to get? You know, are we going to get an attorney that, you know, might have a degree, you know, a specialty in something and not in government? And again, we keep going back to the charter all the time. And, you know, I can't help it that the charter is next year. We have some major things that are coming up for review this next year, okay? This is my feelings. And, you know, I feel that we as an elected body have that opportunity to make that choice before the charter. And it's up to us as well that we see what's going on in our community and our city government before the charter meets. If we have that opportunity and we're not able to make a change to how things are always done to make things better, then we're not doing our service as an elected official. So that's how I feel. I'm tired of hearing over and over about the process, about, you know, this is how we did it before. This is how this has to happen. You know, this is what city government is. It changes. Things happen, things change, the way everything happens. I'm just getting really, I'm sorry, I'm just tired of hearing the same thing over and over. Sometimes we just need to make a change, and we have to be comfortable with it, and we have to go forward and try it. So,
And regardless of who puts it out there.
Right.
Whether it's us or the charter review, the voters are the ones that are making
Right.
the ultimate decision. The other thing too that I just want to add, if there are 2 or 3 people that are interested in the position, that doesn't mean that they can't apply.
right.
And interview for that position to possibly get appointed for that position. You know, so it's not like we're taking away that opportunity. They still have the opportunity to try to get that position. It's just they would be gaining it differently than running in an election. They would be, you know, being interviewed and you know, going through a process to be appointed instead.
Yeah.
Can I talk about the process? Because I think it's hugely important. You know, why do you think we have a charter review commission every 5 years? Why not every 1 year? Why not every 2 years? It's an important decision that you don't make lightly. How often do you change the Constitution of the United States? You know how difficult that is? Because the founding people of this city made these decisions and to set up the charter, and it's not like they just flippantly did it. They did it with serious consideration about what the city would be and how it would function. My opinion is city council can, well, the 5-2 vote at least to get a charter amendment on the ballot also includes recommendations from the Charter Commission. So one of the reasons it's there is to approve those things. And the idea like, well, we need to change it now. Well, what if 2 years from now, that council wants to change it again? And then 2 years after that, they want
What's
to
the
change it
matter?
again.
I mean, that's a choice, and it's up to the voters ultimately.
Well, it is up to the voters, but I think from our perspective, I think we need to be careful about these changes. I think they should be done only under situations where we have problems with the system.
And this is a situation, I feel, that we have people that have been in these positions for such a long time, and the way government has worked, that it's a prime opportunity to try something different.
Just to try something different.
Respectfully, I know we have differing opinions.
Right.
Respectfully, though, we have not allowed the current system to fail.
Right.
We probably will have people that live in Ravenna that are lawyers that want to serve as law director be on the ballot. If that's the procedure that we've had in the past, I think there may be wisdom in letting that play out. You know, you're concerned about who are you going to get, you know? They might have said that about any of us when we're running for election. Who are you going to get, you know?
for sure.
You know, maybe we shouldn't allow that person to get be elected. Well, if they're a resident, they're qualified, I'm thinking we let it go. And if we don't have it, then we can go great guns on changing the charter to an appointed official. Other people,
Just as a general comment, I'm not in favor of consolidating more power. We've seen executive power in different places all over the world consolidate, and I don't think that the executive, whether that is a mayor or a city manager in the long run, should have the ability to have counsel that is not representative fully of the people. Because if you're in a position where you could be discharged for disagreement or not having the right philosophy, that puts the public in peril. I mean, at least if we have that objectively voted on by the people. I mean, we might not have the best candidates conceivably of all possible worlds, but looking at the Bar Association, that it says for the Ohio, it says that there's about 30 some odd or 31 people that are located in Ravenna as, I don't know if they're residents, but at least they're practicing here. So I'm saying I don't think the candidate pool is as small as we might portray it as. The system we have is working, and I like that it allows the public to make more decisions. If there's a vacancy, we have to fill it. That's already in the charter. We'll do that appointment when we get to that point, but we haven't had a significant lapse or a problem. And if it sounds like there's members of the public that are willing to pursue this process and the joys of working, and nothing against the Board of Elections. Those are very charming people. They help us through all sorts of crazy stuff for bureaucracies. But if someone wants to jump through all these hoops to throw their hat in the ring for the public to make a decision, I think we owe it to them to have that opportunity, rather than take it and disenfranchise them of that opportunity.
okay.
I did.
You said what you think?
I did. I also just wanted to add that, I looked up the charter started in 1971, and I think, things change much differently than they do now, than they did in 1971. So government moves faster, things move faster, people move faster, things are just different. And so to compare, for me to say, well, this is how we did it, or it's not, I think we're being proactive instead of waiting until it's broken to fix it. I don't see the problem with being proactive and making some changes and letting the voters decide that.
Can I ask you a question then?
Sure.
Why do you think we have a charter review commission if council, in its wisdom, can make these proactive changes? And shouldn't it be, it's a two-part question.
Okay.
And shouldn't it be, since the charter itself establishes that charter review specifically for this type of thing, and since it's coming up next year, why not wait and let the Charter Review Commission do what the charter says it's supposed to do, instead of, and preempt it, why preempt them?
So, but doesn't the charter also say that we have the right to do this as well?
Yes.
Well, it says we approve any proposed changes.
Correct, but the charter opens it up for council to also be able to make decisions.
Well, of course, that's what we did with
Right.
the finance director.
Because every 5 years, it is difficult. And if something happens, something changes, things are moving a lot more quickly than they have in the past, which is, so, but it does say in here that we have the ability to do that as well. So I guess you could look at it from both sides. Yes, sure, the charter review meets every 5 years. And I've sat in on it. It's a lot of work. And I think it's just as important for us to be able to have a say, because it doesn't matter where it comes from. It's going to the residents. The residents can turn it down, whether it comes from us or the charter review.
Agreed.
Thanks for answering.
I did, right? Did I answer?
Yeah,
you?
you did a
we
great
know
job.
which direction you want to go. I did talk with the mayor about it. The mayor, seemed to indicate that he was okay either direction. We talked about the history of what the position was. I've expressed my opinion, that my opinion is a no. Let the process move forward as it is. Let's go around. Mr. Harper, do you have an opinion right now? Or don't want to speak?
Yes and
Okay.
no. I mean, I like the election process. I'd like to see that play out. But I also see the benefits of having someone appointed that you can change some things. I think some things need to be done differently. I think we need a law director here every meeting. I think that's important. I think that should happen. But that being said, there's a lot to consider with this, and I'll be honest with you, I'm going back and forth with it still at this point.
Okay.
So again, I like the election process. I'd probably lean toward letting that play out at this point.
Okay. Mrs. Michael, I think,
I've said it
without
all.
assuming, I think I know your position
Yeah,
on this.
you know my
Okay.
position. I'm pretty vocal.
Mr. Maravich?
I don't think it's our best move right now. I think there are other things that need our attention. So while I could see that as a process improvement, since we have people that may be in the queue for it and we're willing to try the good old democracy out, I'm not in favor of making any changes and pushing this to charter review for consideration.
So your opinion is the same as mine, that we let the process move forward. Mr. Moskin?
It's been mentioned before about the charter review that in some cases didn't want to bring things up because of an election year for certain people. I believe that part's wrong. If the Charter Review Commission needs to discuss things, needs to change things upon their beliefs, it should be done no matter what. And right now, I am quite leaning toward, when I say let the people decide how they want to vote toward this position, voters themselves. And unless I can see, I'll say, more evidence toward the other way.
So are you saying you prefer to let this go to a vote and see who signs up to run and let the vote take place, and then move to the examining the appointed position if it doesn't work out with the vote?
At this present time, yes.
Okay.
You have a couple comments out there if you
Let
want.
me make one comment. I know I don't vote unless there's a tie, and it wouldn't be in this case because you'd need 5 votes. But to answer Mr. Harper's question, I don't know that I don't know that the reason Mr. Semino hasn't been at meetings like this is because he doesn't want to attend. I'm not sure if he's ever even been asked to attend. But I also wonder if we could make that part of our code. We don't necessarily have to change the charter.
He's an elected official. You don't have to, you couldn't do that, I don't think.
Well, I didn't say we could. I said I think it's a question that's worthy of answering. There is a Department of Law in our code, not in our chapter. And I think it's reasonable to think that we could expect the law director to be at certain meetings. It's not in there now, but that could be something we could consider if the concern is that the law director is not ever present at some of our meetings. So there might be some changes we could make without changing the charter.
There was questions, I guess, out there.
Question? Someone had
Or did
a
someone have?
question, they wanted to say something? Ms. Miller?
And my name is Cynthia Miller. I'm hoping I'll phrase this properly without hurting anybody's feelings. I have great respect for what you do, the council, and how much time you put into this and how much thought. I think probably, I don't know everyone's story in this room, but I've probably been affected more by the decisions of an elected mayor, an elected law director, than anyone that I know in this room. And I'm still for an elected law director and an elected mayor. I think that's the right move. As much as I respect everybody here, I don't want city council choosing my mayor. I don't want city council choosing my law director, even if they're using a headhunter, even if they're finding someone that is extremely qualified for the position. I think it should be the voters. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Miller. Mr. Stodel?
What could go wrong? For me, I think a lot can go wrong. We've been lucky for 50 years to have Mr. Semino here that has worked out for 50 years. You have no idea what you're going to get. What could go wrong? A lot could go wrong. And it also bothers me that in both cases, we don't seem to have any way to get rid of him if something goes wrong, do we?
Well,
So we're looking at we'd have to recall an elected mayor. And in this case, you've just said that unless he does something really major, we can't get rid of them. So what could go wrong? We might not be lucky, let me finish.
Sure, I'm sorry.
Thank you. We might not be as lucky to get somebody like Tammy that knew her job when she came here and does it well. We have no idea what we're going to get. Anybody could run. Somebody, and you know what? I know they go to school for 8 to 10 years to be a lawyer. I understand that. But you know what? I have a couple friends that were lawyers, and it took them 6 times to pass the test. Okay? And I'm not I've never used them as lawyers, and they're my friends. Okay? So you don't know what you're going to get and what could go wrong. In either case, aren't we looking at, in the end, the public would make the decision of who would it be? There'd be a vote. And now, I'm sorry, I would need to ask you a question, then you can go on. You said you needed 5 votes. Well, you don't need 5 votes tonight.
No,
You need 2 votes tonight.
2 notes tonight to move it forward.
So if somebody's one each side, then you get to vote.
I could vote yes. But I don't usually vote unless there's a particular reason I feel strongly about it.
It's quite clear that you are quite strongly feeling about this.
That's true.
Okay, it's quite clear.
But, okay.
Okay, yeah.
But can I want to address one thing.
Hold on. Any other comments, Mr. Sodal?
That's enough.
Yeah, no, but I wanted to address I think people misunderstood when you were talking about the removal of officials and elected. If you're worried that an elected law director will be harder to get rid of than an appointed one, according to our current charter, unless you want to change that, the process is exactly the same. Okay?
Yeah.
So I don't know that that's the issue.
Yeah, the other thing.
The only thing different
Yeah.
is that the people decide
Yeah.
if it's elected, and council or the mayor or whoever that's crafted would decide with an appointed position.
So also, an elected law director can be removed on the next election if they don't win.
That's true.
They can, so that's the removal procedure. So right now, we're in Personnel Committee. Somebody else waving?
Of course you do.
Yeah, you do.
Yes?
Can the charter reflect what the qualifications are of the candidate that they have to have background?
Chief? Your mic.
Well, it's on, but it's not.
To require them to have a government background in a law degree, or what their presence has to be in that charter to be here for every meeting, or they're only excused by direction of the mayor, or however. I don't know what all the politics are behind it, but can the charter not reflect certain aspects of that qualification if it's an elected position, or even if it's an appointed position?
Yes.
Yeah, that
Yes.
can
So
be
why don't
changed.
why don't we?
Just update the job description from that functional capacity.
So-
I think that's an option, but I'm just asking the question to give you guys something to digest, that's all.
So in the charter, because I'm looking at it right now, so for city engineer, for example, it says the city engineer, what they do, who they work for, and that they shall be a registered engineer in the state of Ohio, or be able to obtain that within 6 months of being. So it does list in there specific things that are needed. It's the same thing for director of public service. It also has stuff like that.
Yeah,
Just that through the charter to make it a little bit more tangible for what you're looking for, that appeases both sides, whether you're for an elected position or appointed position, to make it home that both sides are happy with.
the current charter has 3 requirements for the law director: resident for 1 year, law degree, and license to work in Ohio.
And
Okay?
let's also know, the comment you said where, you just don't, you'll lose the election if you don't do a good job. In most cases, attorneys a lot of times don't run against other attorneys, or nobody runs because they the public in general may not know what's going on in generally, so that statement's not always true.
Okay. So right now, on our informal vote, whether you would support a ordinance for the charter change now before it goes to election, I think we have 3 no's. No from here, no from here, no
Carmen's
from
not
here, with you undecided.
I'm leaning towards letting it go through the election process at this time and letting charter being so close. If we were 4 years out from charter review, maybe look at it, but I'm okay with, at this point, letting the election process continue and allowing charter review to examine that issue.
Okay.
I'd suggest that we table and refer this to the charter review.
So with that, I don't know procedurally whether we just say it's not moving out of personnel.
So you got a no from
Yeah.
Mr. Harper?
So
And you're a no?
we're not moving it forward.
You know, a week from tonight, my plan is to present, you know, the process for how legislation is crafted, and there are other pathways besides the committee process. So those who feel strongly enough can pursue those other pathways. But for now, it's not going forward.
Okay.
Sorry?
Yeah, sure. Come on.
I'd have to ask Mr. Procedure up here, is this the correct procedure? Aren't we supposed to have a 2 out of 3 to move this forward or to put it on hold or whatever? You're betting on what might happen if you move it forward. Is this
No.
correct procedure?
No.
I
The
might be
committee-
misunderstanding it.
The committee has 3 members and me as ex officio.
Carmen's
2
not
have
here.
Two have voted no. That's a majority of the established committee.
That's not what the statement was made. He's asking, are we going to have 5 votes?
Well, he was
That
taking
was
the
part of the
temp-
discussion.
Yeah.
But that was the last thing you said. I'm asking if we're going to have 5 votes if we move this forward. That's the way I took it. So,
Well, I think his point was, is it worth, when the outcome has, because it's a supermajority, is it worth pursuing if the outcome, now, people can change their minds, I get that. And I'm the one who just mentioned there's other pathways besides the committee meeting. So I'm not saying it's a dead issue. And if there's people who can be convinced to change their mind and another pathway is pursued, it could still come to a council vote and it could still pass.
I think it's quite clear that the people's minds have been changed in the last week or 2. So it could happen again.
It's true.
That's just my thought on it.
But officially for tonight, it's not moved forward because there wasn't a majority vote to move it forward.
I get it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, no management update, and we will adjourn at 6:40.
All right, then at 6:40, I'm going to call to order the Community and Economic Development Committee. I actually have Jen Davis from NDS here tonight to present on both of the things on my agenda. I know, I don't have to do any work tonight. She gets to do it for us. So, Jen, come on up to the mic. The first thing is the CHIP partnership agreement. This is something that we do, you know, that we've had in place for quite some time. But I asked Jen to come here and kind of give us a quick explanation of what it is and how it worked, so we make a good decision moving it forward.
Hi, I am Jen Davis with Neighborhood Development Services, and we are, once again, it's time to apply for the CHIP application. Several years ago, I don't remember quite when, they changed it from the city getting its own CHIP application to the partnership structure. And the partnership structure is with Portage County and the city of Streetsboro. If you look, I believe you have a copy of the partnership agreement. Section 7 kind of gives the breakdown of how much every community can apply for. These are the maximum limits the state will allow. So Portage County can apply for up to $400,000. The city of Ravenna, or I'm sorry, the city of Streetsboro can apply for up to $350,000, and the city of Ravenna can apply for up to $300,000. We would anticipate going for that maximum amount, which then would give the projected outcomes for the city of Ravenna to do 2 full rehabs and 3 home repairs. the city of Streetsboro would do 3 full rehabs and 4 home repairs, and Portage County would do 3 full rehabs and 5 home repairs. The full rehab, the state has developed the residential rehab standards, and that's, you walk into a home and that house has to be brought up to those standards. Home repair is 1 or 2 large items, and if it's a roof, then it would meet the RRS standards for that particular item, but not necessarily the whole house. The limits of assistance are also there. It's $85,000 for the full rehab and $30,000 for home repair. We have recently had to request to exceed those. It's just the cost of doing business anymore, everything is going up. So that is, I mean, it's the standard program that we've done for, I think, the city of Ravenna for 30, 40 years now. It just looks a little bit different because it is a partnership versus the city. The city of Ravenna would once again be the lead organization for the partnership. Portage County and Streetsboro have already passed their legislation, so they're all in again as well.
Last time we participated in this program, we used all of our money. We actually had more applicants than money available.
Correct.
We anticipate the same thing this time,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, we're finishing up 2024 right now. That'll be spent down before we can get,
Yeah, and
before we are awarded this.
so we're talking 4 full rehabs is what you think you can get out of the money? Okay.
Does anybody have any questions on this? I know it's pretty. So remind me, because I asked you this when we met, why is it just us, Streetsboro and Portage County? Why aren't other communities included?
The state's rules.
Okay.
The state chooses, city of Aurora doesn't qualify because they don't have enough low to moderate income population. It's based on your city size and your low to moderate income.
Perfect.
Kent does their own.
Kent
Then Kent does their own,
Kent is
yeah.
an entitlement community and does their own,
That's right.
yes.
Okay.
Jen, how can we spread this 300K out farther? Because this doesn't, it's not really an impact on the, other than a couple families.
Right.
We have such needs that if we could do $25,000 for each verse, it's, you know, we'd have
Problem is
multiple.
when you get to those full rehabs, you have to meet the residential rehab standards, and it's taking up every single penny of that 85 and then some.
Just doesn't benefit the community as well as it should.
So could we do?
That's a good idea. I mean, that's a good
Could we
point.
do less full rehabs and more roofs and stuff like that? Or this is the way it has to be
We
done?
could look at that. I mean, we've always had both the full rehab and the home repair in the budget. We've always kind of done both sources. I mean, but we could.
I mean, if it's
definitely-
our money, I would
It is
think
your
we
money,
should be
yeah.
able to allocate it on what the needs of our community is and like
Do you
what,
think it would be better to do 5, 6 roofs and?
if we have people in need, we're seeing a lot of people that are with our housing, property maintenance person. We have a lot of low-income senior citizens, people that have deplorable conditions and can't afford it.
Right.
So again, if this could clean up our neighborhoods and, you know, help for them to become more attractable, I'm all for possibly changing up with what we had instead of like what Bob said, only doing 4 families if this could be spread out. So I think it's worth getting another idea brought up.
So looking at this, we have 180,000 set aside for the full rehabs. If we took that and we just divided it, I mean, we could add in, it looks like another 6 home repairs and no full rehabs, so that would give us 9 home repairs, no full rehabs. But we would need to make that decision quickly because, of course, the grant app is coming up and
Yeah, for sure.
Bob, is that something that maybe property maintenance and you,
Well, it's income qualified.
Right.
And we.
and I'm sure we have
always
that.
suggest call NDS, and some folks, they just don't do it
Mm-hmm.
because of pride, or
And
it's hard to tell why they don't, but we can't make somebody.
Sure.
When we get to court, we always suggest.
But I guess I'm talking about how to spend the money if they have, you know, so they already had this because this is how, once again, things were always done. But I'm glad that you brought this forth to our committee And if this is something that we could switch up a little bit to impact more people in our community, I'm all for it. I mean, this is your committee that you chair, but I'm on it. But I'm happy to do whatever that needs to be done if this is something that's a viable option.
And I just wanted to point out what those income limits are. So we typically say a household of 4 is your average, and it's 80% of area median income. And for 2026, which were just released last week, it's 77,700. For a household of 2, it's 62,200. So, Amy, you are correct. Most probably would qualify for that, but it is a matter of they have to turn in the application, and some people just choose not to. And we do, unfortunately, have to ask for a lot of information. It's not just, can I get a pay stub or a social security? We need to look at bank statements. We look at anybody who does any kind of cash apps, all that kind. So we look at a lot of information that sometimes people just aren't comfortable releasing, which I understand, but that's the way to do the program.
Jen, when we're talking about these less than whole house
Yes.
rehab, what's the dollar amount for those grants
Those
then?
can go up to 35, or
So-
30,000,
So they can go up to
Yes,
30,000, depending on what they're asking
depending
for.
on what they're asking for.
And then, do they have to repay?
No.
Or there is no repayment on
There
it?
is, so for the home repair program, it is a grant. For the full rehabs, it is a forgivable mortgage. That way, it kind of gives them a little bit of incentive to stay in the home a little bit longer, because if they move out year 2, then they would have a prorated amount that they would pay back. But the home repair, the smaller amount, is a grant. And those financing mechanisms are put in place by the state. So those have changed over the years as well.
Christina?
Based on past
I'm sorry.
applications, do you see more applications for home repairs or more applications for full rehabs?
I'm not in that department, but I do believe we see more applications for the full rehabs, and sometimes we do have to just fix those 1 or 2 items. It's a first come, first serve. As soon as we have that grant and we know we're moving forward, we start to do the advertising, and then it's just whoever gets their full application in first. But I do believe there is more demand for the full rehab than the home repair. I'm not saying we couldn't fill the home repair.
Yeah.
Does your grant application have to identify the number?
Yes.
Oh, so.
Yeah, we have to
So
put the budget in, we have
if
to.
we're not comfortable with this breakdown for Ravenna, then we need to say so
We need to
soon.
get that fixed right now, because we'll want to make sure that that's correct for Finance Committee, and then to get to full council, because the applications are due June 24th.
So my suggestion, and I don't know about the rest of you, is to leave it the way that it is for this year, and then next year start these conversations earlier to see what our need is, because it sounds like there still is that need for the full rehab. We still have the ability to support 3 home repairs this year. Let's look at what we've been submitted for this year and make adjustments as necessary for the next time.
With all due respect, I would also say the adjustment seems pretty simple. We just have to change the number.
Right.
Right.
So,
3 doesn't sound like, like 3, the amount of 3, only 3 houses, the impact is not,
not much.
it's not much.
Question for you, Bob. Would there be a way to, assess from the more broad perspective, like the quantity of houses based on like the applicants, and to set things in to kind of help sort and prioritize some of those things? Like, for example, like water ingress in a property, whether it's through the roof or walls, is more likely to do more structural damage and things, rather than some other things that might be slightly more comfort or convenience kind of features or improvements for homes. But can we focus on spreading that money in a capacity where it does like the most amount of benefit based on the applicant's needs? To like kind of like how many properties can we proactively affect to just get at least them into a better, stable place?
I'm thinking of like roofs, you know.
Yeah.
I think there's probably certain items that,
I just signed a permit for waterproofing. It was $38,000 for remember where the house was? Oh, it escapes me now, but it was a smaller house.
yeah.
Roofs were from $15,000 to $30,000. So, I mean, even $35,000 piece isn't going very far, but it's helping the residents. We don't, as property maintenance, we don't know that their furnaces are working properly. Air conditioning, those things.
So that being said, that brings up a good question. So as far as the home repair projects, what's the limits on that? Like,
30,000.
Well, I know cost amount, but is there like certain things that they
Like
won't do?
restrictions or exclusions?
Windows, furnace,
Furnace,
Roof.
roof, structural, I mean,
Functional
most
infrastructure.
everything.
So the functional.
most
stuff. Okay.
everything.
Most-
But they're all repairs.
They're not gonna just come in and paint.
Not gonna put in a new
Yeah,
kitchen,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, right.
Lead.
yeah.
Obviously, lead's a big thing.
I understand that there's probably a lot of demand for the whole house repair because it's a great program, up to $85,000, and you don't have to pay it back if you stay in the house long enough. But if we're able to do it, I would be in favor of us dividing up the money into more projects that people can do, that we can help them to repair their houses and put the maximum amount of money in that if possible. Just my thought.
Amy?
I agree. I had no idea that, I wish Bob would have spoke up about this a lot sooner instead of right now. But
On the agenda right now.
I know, but again, I feel, like I said, I don't want to put us at risk of losing, obviously, any grant money either.
Right, and I'll double check to make sure that there's not a very specific requirement. I mean, obviously, I don't think you guys are gonna say, no, we don't want to do it and leave that money on the table. We'll
No.
just go out.
But-
if we can make that adjustment, we'll take a look at the budget.
But I think our priority is to help residents, help neighborhoods, help homeowners, and use the money and help more people.
So then it sounds like the plan from our committee is to see if we're able to make that adjustment to just the home repairs and move that forward with the home repair piece. So do you think we'll have that information before committee
We
of the
will
whole?
have that information by noon tomorrow, if
Okay,
not sooner.
awesome.
So just so you know what your options are, because we only have 2 right now, private rehab listed. If we had 1, we could do 7 home repairs, and we'd still have $5,000 left, or we could do all 10.
Do you have the
Zero.
addresses
nine.
of where the homes are?
No,
It's
they're
first come, first served
30,000,
basis.
10 would
We
be
open up the
300,000.
application.
So you don't have the actual homes you're doing?
No.
I mean, we have what we're doing in 2024, like
Oh.
what are currently under, but we don't have a list for this one.
But do you have applications?
We have what's being completed right now during.
You have the
just
application just for the
current-
ones that are being completed?
Current one that's
Okay.
being completed now. Yeah, we don't
You
do,
need-
we
you
don't
need
do
the
any kind
funding
of waiting
first.
list or anything like that. It's first come, first serve as the grant opens up.
After it opens up?
Yes.
Okay.
Jen, would we be able to switch to a $50,000 rehab? It can only be 30? Meaning-
The limits of assistance, the 85 and 30 are the state limits of assistance. So we can't increase. We can, in special cases, request a exception, but not for everybody.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions on it? So it's, committee, correct me if I'm wrong on this one, we want to move this forward, but we want to move it forward with making it to be the no home, full rehabs and just the home repairs if we have the capacity to do so.
Yes.
Okay.
And I guess the other clarification that I want is leave it alone if we can't. If for some reason there's a
100%.
restriction in the grant, leave it as is.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
just confirming so that way.
But the question, that begs the question, how did it get to those numbers in this grant when it was sent to us?
Those are the numbers that basically we've done. This is
how they've
kind of
done
how Amy said it. It's what's been. how
So
it's been
we have
based on
put
the grant.
those
This
numbers
is how
into
it's
the
been
grant?
for-
Okay, so in the future, if we needed to change the numbers, we could do that? Okay.
Jen, is it fair to say if home repair is max of 30, we have 300,000, we could do 10, potentially?
Potentially.
And then how does NDS's administration fee come out of all of this?
So we have soft costs that are related to each project, and we also have the 20% admin fee. And it's part of the grant, but not part of that 300.
Oh,
So
And
We'll get
so-
to spend
we can still
300,
spend,
and your
we can still
admin
do
is-
the 10 houses, and we will still get paid.
So I do have a math question, though. We have $300,000 total, right?
Yes.
And you're saying 2 rehabs and 3 home repairs, right?
Yes.
That's 260,000. We still have 30,000.
That's I guess we can still do the 10 houses, but it,
No, I'm saying, why can't we do 2 rehabs and 4 repairs?
because there's the soft costs and the administration fees.
It's $10,000?
Probably.
It's 4,000 per home repair and 12,000 per full rehab. And
Okay.
that's for the inspections and the permits and all of, I mean,
Ancillary costs.
that's so we can keep our lights on.
Every grant we receive, there's an administration
Right.
cost.
Usually
Well, I
about
was just trying to
20%.
clarify what it was, because it's not in the contract.
Well, let's.
That's in the administration contract, which will be coming to you soon. It was already approved by the Board of Controls.
Okay,
So
good.
that'll,
So when you get that to us, I'll make sure the all council gets that, and we'll go from there. Stay up there. Because next, we're gonna talk about down payment assistance program.
down payment assistance. And I will start by saying the home and the CDBG RLF can be used for additional full rehabs and/or home repairs if you don't want, if you choose to use that money for that instead of this. What you should do, what I recommend doing, is commit it to a program by June so that the state doesn't say, we're gonna use this in your chip and you're gonna get, your chip
And take them.
grant amount will go down. So they'll pull that 150 of home dollars and they'll pull the 50,000 and put it into your chip program and give you less grant dollars.
So they're taking
So-
a chip off of it.
Yes, that's what they're doing because they like to, they're revolving loan funds and they want to see them revolve. But one of the things we've been looking at is the affordability for households, especially first-time home buyers. Once again, we have a lot of low to moderate income families. And we're looking at maybe doing a down payment assistance program in Ravenna. It would be with your RLF funds. Between the two sources, we have 200,000. We were thinking up to 40,000 per house. It, once again, is going to be that 80%, so family of four, 77,700. And it would be a 1% loan. It would be a 15-year, it would amortize over 15 years, but the first payment wouldn't start until year 3. Give them a chance to get in and kind of get acclimated with everything, and then that first payment would start. The homeowners, of course, that family would need to be income qualified, which we would go through the same process that we go through for any of the CHIP program. And we also would require that they go through the pre-purchase education, so that way they get some of that information ahead of time. We have an online service, it's called eHome, and it gives a lot of information that people don't think about when they're buying a home, especially that first time. This kind of, we're getting a lot of people that just, housing prices are going up and they cannot afford it. So we're just trying to do what we can to maybe help fill that gap and.
So Jen, the 1% loan, that's just on the money
That's just on what we would,
What you
yeah,
would-
that would just be, so if they only borrowed 20, it'd be on 20,000.
the other portion is at market rate, whatever they.
Yeah, it's whatever their first mortgage would be.
And I was interested to get feedback from council on this, on everybody truly, because, I think one of the things that we do talk about is the amount of rentals and wanting to bring more single-family homes to the city. And this might be a way to help support that if people can't afford, immediately to purchase, so.
So I'm trying to understand. So this helps them purchase the home?
It was
Yeah,
down
it could be
payment.
used for down payment money, their closing costs, anything that they would need to fill their gap to make it a little bit more affordable.
And will they go through a real estate agent to get this, or do they have to, is it like focused, I guess?
They
is it-
can buy the house however they would buy it. They
Is
can
it through
use
like a
their own-
bank, or, you know what I mean? How does
Yeah,
all
they
that-
would, what we have seen in the past is, I would assume they would have some sort of buyer's agent, and they would get some kind of financing for the main part of the 80% of the mortgage, whether that's a bank, a credit union. So they would be conventionally financed, and then this would just fill that gap of any kind of down payment and closing costs.
Because I'm wondering how they'll know about it. Like, how will they know that this is out there if they're buying a house?
We will market it, like we market the CHIP program and stuff, and we'll market it for anybody purchasing in Ravenna. We'll make sure we'll reach out to the local realtors.
Have we done a down payment assistance program in the past in Ravenna?
In the past, we've done down payment assistance and down payment assistance rehab. That actually was a program in the CHIP for a while. We kind of got away from it because people weren't buying anymore. And so what we see now, what we're seeing at least, is people want to buy, but they just can't afford it.
And right now, the revolving loan fund through CDBG is empty, right? We don't have anything in there.
There's about 50,000 in the housing side of it.
Okay.
There's about 150 in the home RLF. And those are the portions we're looking at.
And that's what you would use, that's where that money would come
Yep,
from?
That's where that
Okay.
money would come from.
So is there a particular way you come up with 40,000, or is that set by the state? How does that number come up?
That is actually a number that Mike came up with, and I'm guessing it's based probably on the average cost of houses and what that down
And
payment
what
would
the
look like.
insurance would be so they wouldn't have to pay the
Correct.
more? Okay.
Yep, because it would eliminate.
Because that would be about $200,000, and I guess in this day and age, that's probably an average.
I mean, we're
Maybe low.
selling our, the tax credit homes that we built. Those are going for anywhere, I mean, we've had them in Wyndham appraised for 200, in Ravenna, they're appraising for over 200.
Yeah. But it says up to, and so does that mean, there's another calculation
That
that?
means if somebody comes to us and they only need 30, we're gonna give them 30. We're not gonna give them, we're
wouldn't
only gonna give them what they need. We're not
But
gonna give them the extra.
Well, that's my question, though. What's their need? I don't understand. How do you
We
establish?
would have
a
to look
need?
at each individual. We don't know that until we're presented. We'd have to see what they qualify for as far as their first mortgage, what the house they're trying to buy is, and what they actually need. Without having that specific household in front of us, we don't know that. But
So
what
it's
we
a
do- what
judgment
we're-
call.
what
It's up
we're-
to 40,000, but you decide how much they get.
Kind of. I mean, we're not gonna, if they need 40,000, we're gonna give them 40,000. We're not gonna sit back on that. What we're saying is somebody can't come to us and ask for 100,000.
No, but I
we're just
mean,
putting that
at
cap.
1%, why would they not want the full amount?
We're not, no, they have to get
And we don't have to manage it.
approved for their normal mortgage, and we're just filling that gap from the 20% so that they
Okay,
don't.
all
have
right,
to
so
pay-
that
yeah.
answered, I understand that.
Just that
Now I understand the question. Yeah.
Will there be a lien on the
Yes.
property then?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, it's a loan.
Thoughts?
Great. Help somebody buy a house.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
We want home ownership. We want to improve home ownership. Great. If we got that money to do it, I'm all for it.
All right, anybody else have any questions on this? All right, I'm okay with moving this forward then. Amy? Great.
Yep, all right.
There you go.
And I will do some investigating in the morning on the chip.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Jen.
And thank you for coming in. We appreciate it. All right, I will end my meeting at 7:01 PM. And we're skipping planning, so
Okay.
it's all you.
I promise this is going to be quick and simple. All right. 7:02, I'm going to call together Public Health and Safety Committee. We have quite a number of items on our agenda tonight, but don't be alarmed. A lot of them are just housekeeping issues. And a couple of them I think can be pretty easily talked about without a lot of, a lot of controversy. Okay, first item on the agenda is a very generous anonymous donation of 40 cases of Gatorade to our fire department and our police department. The police department, Jake wasn't aware that he had to turn that in. So that will be added on there, but both our police and fire department did receive this very generous donation from our anonymous donor. And I would like to say thank you for your kind generosity. That will definitely be well used.
Take the Gatorade and run.
Yep.
Or
Take it.
probably walk
Hydrate.
slowly. It's probably heavy, but yeah. I'm good.
Hydration is important in those jobs. Okay, so with that, we will go ahead and move that on to committee. Next item is the purchase of 3 Life Pack 35s not to exceed $186,000. Now, with that being said, that money has already been budgeted. It's just waiting for us to appropriate it from the budget for them to use it. Mr. Chappell is here. If anybody has any questions, I'll go ahead and let you explain. But it's pretty simple. It's to purchase 3 of the Life Packs. So go ahead.
So currently, we're using Life Pack 15. Life expectancy of the Life Pack 15 is about
Mike.
I don't know why
Slide it close.
The Life Pack 15s that we have now are becoming obsolete. They're actually, I believe, in their last year of production. And from what we're being told from Stryker, who's the manufacturer, that they will probably have parts availability, limited parts availability, up to the next 5 years. So a couple years ago, when we did our capital improvement, we looked at a 5-year, 6-year plan of capital improvements, knowing that these Life Pack 35s, or the Life Pack 15s, were gonna be coming to an end. We put in for that expectation to buy the new monitors. Of course, 3 years ago, they were about $15,000 cheaper a piece, but I can't control that. So we met with Stryker for us to get 3 new monitors for the 3 new ambulances, all 3 ambulances that we have. They're just under $186,000 to replace them all.
Could you briefly review what the Life Pack
Sure.
monitor is, please?
So basically, it's a cardiac monitor, but it also does blood pressures, pulse oximetry,
Does everything.
CO2.
Yeah.
It also records all of our data that's on there for patient care for medications that we push. And then it actually exports all that information and data into our Health EMS report, which is all digital now.
And then they send it to the emergency
Yes.
room, and they get the flow sheet from that Life Pack for the ER doctors.
When we purchased our new ambulance a year and a half ago, did we purchase a new Life Pack for it at that time?
No, so what we purchased with the squads then was the cots and the load systems. And those are about 65 grand.
Okay, so we did not purchase a Life Pack at that time?
No.
And what's in that ambulance now? There is not a Life?
15s. They're 15s. They're roughly between 15 and 20 years old.
Okay, so we had
We have 3.
we had a third one of those?
Correct.
Okay.
So right now, for trade-in on them, and I'm not sure if it's even worth the trade-in, because they're telling us they're worth
Right.
between $1,000 and $1,500, even though we paid 30 grand for them.
Those things do not hold value because of technology and the changes in the hospitals, and I swear they all go together, you know.
So within the next couple years, we're gonna be forced to buy them now, and there's only gonna be price increases as time goes on. Actually, there's a price increase at the end of September. That's why I asked to bring this now, because by the time it goes through committee and council of the whole and then passes in June, if it passes in June, by the time I order it and receive it, once I order it, the price is locked, but this price is only guaranteed to the end of September.
Right. So the money's already been budgeted. It is needed. I think it's something that, again, we need to approve and let them take their money and purchase the equipment needed to work with the hospital and their devices.
Yeah, only had one question. I'm seeing that it does the health statistic monitors and such, but it also, it does function as a defibrillator as well?
Correct.
Okay,
It's
just
got a
wanted-
built-in AED in it, correct.
Okay, just wanted to clarify. Thank you. I'm good to move this forward.
Okay? You okay, Matt?
Yeah, life-saving equipment, it was planned for, it was budgeted for, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Something they can't do without.
Nope. All right, we'll go ahead and move this forward. Next item is the contract with Montrose Ford. So these are for the new vehicles and a truck. Dustin, I'm trying to remember how many vehicles. It was.
2 Ford Explorers and then 1 F-150.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so it was for the 2 Ford Explorers and the 1 F-150. And they went with a truck. The truck was actually cheaper than a car. He told me the price of the truck was actually cheaper than, was it the car?
It's correct, the
Yeah.
SUV.
First, when you looked at me, I thought, no, I didn't know he said that.
No, yes,
But
correct.
he said that actually the truck, with a lot of the community outreach that the police department has been doing and a lot of the, moving equipment and everything, the truck will be very versatile for them to have this. So they're really excited. They decided to get the truck. So they are going to have the cars that they are replacing, they'll either put them in auction or have them internally if any of the other departments need the cars. In the past, they've kind of, went internally or they put them in for auction. So that is the plan right now. Any question on this? It's also was in their budget to do this.
Amy, if I, you're.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Miss Michael.
No, it's fine. Amy.
If I could add, it's important to understand that we rotate through our police
Right.
cruisers regularly. We have to do that to be safe, to be efficient, to keep maintenance costs reasonable. One thing about the truck, part of the reason we chose is we're expanding our fleet this year in part because of the new additional personnel that we've been awarded through council. So we need to expand our equipment, including cars, to go along with that. One of the reasons we opted for the truck is we traditionally have had a truck for a number of years. Last was our Dodge Ram, which we purchased brand new, I believe, in about 2012. We drove that in marked service for about 12 years. And that truck now has been passed on to Bob Finney in his department. So even though the cost of the truck is less, which is a real bonus, we get much longer use out of it. We're particular about who's assigned to that truck. It'll serve in addition to projects like community outreach. We set up tables. We have our little pop-up canopies. We have no way to haul those without sticking 2 feet out the window of an SUV. So that's a great resource. The other thing we do is we qualify with our weapons out at the range as many as 4 times a year. We can't haul equipment out to the range because our SUVs are choked down to about a 2-foot cube of cargo space by the time we have all our emergency equipment, cages, whatnot installed in there. So the truck has been a real resource to us in the past. We want to get back to it. We realize now how much we miss it, how much we can use it, and what a value it is to have. So that's kind of why we're pursuing the route of the pickup truck.
What year is the 2 cruisers that we're replacing? What year are the cruisers that we're
I believe they're
replacing?
both 2022s.
22s, okay.
They're pretty consistent with their schedule. So, okay, with that being said, is it okay if we go ahead and move those forward?
Yes.
Okay. Next item is contract with Hall Public Safety Upfitters. And that is, go ahead.
Those are the folks, when we buy a car, it comes with minimal police gear. There's a lot of different companies out there. We use specific gear, and one of the things that's important to us is we maintain the uniformity and the platform of the equipment we install. So if a car goes down, an officer can jump into another car, and it's substantially similar to the one that he normally drives, so that in an emergency situation, in a gunfight, if he reaches for a switch, a piece of equipment, it's gonna be in the same place, because he does that by instinct, not by necessarily a knowing decision under a critical circumstance. So it's also important to know, we've been using Hall for a number of years.
Yeah.
They really support pretty much everybody in this region. And it's also important to understand that with the 2 SUVs, we are going to be rolling over, recycling a substantial amount of the police equipment. So we're not buying new light bars, we're not buying new consoles, we're not buying new cages, and that cuts down the upfit costs dramatically. Granted, there's labor involved, but the equipment costs are going to be much lower. The upfit on the truck is all new equipment, and that equipment is unique to the truck. So that upfit cost is a little bit higher, but that's the reason behind that. And then, like I mentioned before, the truck is something we probably will see a 10-year life out of at a minimum. So even though it has a slightly higher upfit, we're going to get much more use out of it in the long run.
And you'll see in the past when we've purchased vehicles that those two go hand in hand together. That is just a staple that goes together, the upfitters with the vehicle. So it's pretty standard. So we're going to move that forward. Is that okay with the committee?
Yes.
All right. Okay, next item. Another generous citizen of Ravenna has chose to donate $1,000 to the police department. There's no match. It's just a very generous donation. And a anonymous donation from the same person to the fire department for $2,000. So I would like to say thank you to that individual who chooses to remain anonymous. and there is no match, and I'd like to move that forward for accepting that donation.
Yes.
Agreed.
Okay, all right, thanks. And next item is the school resource officer contracts. And this is for the 26-27 year. We just shouldn't have it. Yeah, I did both. One for the police, one for the fire.
Okay.
Yeah. The contract, did we end up getting that? Because last I knew, Jake hadn't seen that yet.
They are at the board,
Yeah.
the school board, and they'll be sending them, they're passing there
So
tonight.
what he did tell me is that the only increase will be for the two officers. They're still the same, Lincoln and Fife. Yes, they're still the same, but their normal increase that they would get for their raises. You know, that is the only additional increase, but everything, there's no changes. It's pretty straightforward on how it has been, but you will be able to see the contract next week, okay?
Have we received any feedback as to, since we've added the additional school resource officer from residents or
I
families?
just know they've been extremely busy.
Oh, I know they've
have
been
you-
busy.
So, our second officer assigned, he was assigned through the duration of this year, kind of as a trial. Feedback has been absolutely phenomenal.
That's great to hear.
That was absolutely a home run. He's enjoying it. The schools are benefiting, both of them. And Lincoln has just been a long time. He's a great fit. He's got a great deal of resources in his toolkit, so to speak, and we could use him in a lot of other places, but he absolutely manages those schools as good as they can be handled. And that's a burden that takes off the rest of the police services.
Right.
So we can focus on other things. And Chase has just fallen right in line with him. They're a good team. Calls for services at the school are ever increasing, so there absolutely is a need for it. Right now, those are two signed officers, a perfect fit. And assuming everything falls into place, we don't anticipate any changes to that.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I ran into Officer Fife, and he was pretty happy. So, again, it was a perfect fit, and I'm glad that we have two.
Absolutely.
Very, very needed, so. Okay,
Amy, you have a comment?
yes, Cliff.
The question here, with us losing schools and closing them down and other schools taking them over, obviously, we don't pay to put an officer in those schools because they're private. But if there's trouble, they're going to call our police department. Correct?
Yes.
I would think so.
Is there something that we should be doing here eventually, not now, but eventually, to require somebody that's going to run a school there to have their own security to a point where we don't have to be using our men to go out there because we take care of our own, but they don't take care of their own. You see what I'm saying there? And you're going to probably have one or two more here soon. You already have two schools.
Yeah.
And last week, there was, I think, a little bit of a problem with somebody from one of those schools, as I remember hearing. And of course, that wasn't in the school, I don't think.
Yeah.
But it just makes me wonder why. There's a lot of calls. It's a lot of calls.
Yeah, it's something I think, to keep track of and to be ahead of the game. So what, comes in with the newer schools that are coming in, how that will play with us, I don't know. With the new schools that are like these academies that are coming in, how will that affect like resource officers? Will that affect them at all? Or would they as well have to be a contract, and would they have that same opportunity, I guess?
So, briefly, as best I can answer your question. So our school resource officers are assigned to Ravenna City Schools. So currently, if there's a call at Maplewood, that typically is addressed by road patrol officers, independently of the SROs, unless we find it's a Ravenna student going to Maplewood, if there's some certain dynamics that are involved, or if there's a connection between the two. But otherwise, it's handled independently. Now, having said that, Maplewood, we receive very few calls, so Maplewood is not a drain of resources by any stretch. I don't have specific numbers I can share, but I can tell you the calls there are minimal compared to what we get at the Ravenna
Oh, yeah.
Secondly, the school or academy that took over, West Park Elementary, I believe that's all younger kids.
It is.
Honestly, I'm not sure where it's going right now, but I don't believe we've responded there for anything.
It hasn't started officially yet,
It-
but.
It'll start next week.
But it's anticipation based on the younger age is there should be a minimal amount of involvement there before.
On the 18th.
The only other question ongoing then is the EA Opportunity School, the old
Tappin.
Tappan down there off of Bennett. So we've had a great deal of discussion, what's the best
Okay,
resolution for that.
my mistake on my head.
Private fund, et cetera. You know, should they be obligated to pay a salary? And we've had many conversations about that. We have not
Come up with a solution yet?
we do have calls there, they're handled by road patrol officers and on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, it's like at what point in a situation, if we're going to continuing with residents hearing and seeing police cruisers there, could it become a danger to the neighborhood? And are they going to become required? Could that be considered a nuisance to the, a chronic nuisance? And, or could they be responsible to hiring additional staff to control the problem if this is creating havoc in the neighborhood? I would think so. Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on, I'm sorry, Mrs. Miller, you had your hand up. I do apologize.
Rubs me the wrong way, whether they're private or public schools, these children are our
Oh,
own.
absolutely.
They are our own. So maybe more discussions do need to see how it's shared security somehow.
Yeah.
I understand resource officers have to be in city schools.
And I don't think
They
it was
are
meant,
our
I
own.
didn't mean it to sound like
No,
private.
no, I understand, but
But I just curious how the roles, because it being funded differently with funding, but no,
Yes.
absolutely.
And
Kids are our
I think
kids.
a private school should have their own security, or at least contribute to their own security, or maybe contribute to the security, help out a little bit with the police department.
Absolutely. We want everyone to be
Our
safe.
own. They are our
And our neighborhoods too. Okay, next item will be the opioid funds and transportation by Access Family Services. So, as you remember, we have met privately. We haven't brought it to council because Tammy has really had her hands full with a lot of other things going on. So we really haven't drafted up anything yet. But that being said, we kind of came up with some ideas in our committee when we did meet about ways for the opioid spending. And one of those that is able to be used appropriately is transportation for people that have had drug issues or for transportation that have had problems with opioids. As you all remember, for years we've had our police department has suffered and our downtown has suffered from the drop-offs of inmates in our downtown. And that had been rectified by Family and Community Services, which is now known as Access Family Services. Well, that being said, as you know, we haven't seen the amount that we had seen and as it was increasing because of Mark Frazone and them going out there on a regular basis and working out some type of schedule pattern to take the individuals to the hospital and getting them transportation. That being said, again, the Sheriff's Department has not given them any money for transportation, nor has the commissioners agreed to, at this point, give them any funding. So he has been doing this free since he started without any money. So he cannot financially continue to do this. And with that being said, that's going to be a problem in our downtown if we do not continue this from happening. So we figured out a good part of the some of, not a lot of the money, but only $5,000 of this money, a one-time ask, will help with his transportation cost to get him to continue this, for, at least for this next year, until he's trying to maneuver and get other funding. And if anything, it's a good amount for us to contribute because it affects our downtown the most. So we talked with Tammy, and he had called the mayor, and the mayor felt that that also was a good fit for the $5,000 to give to Access Family Community Services for that transportation of the inmates to continue as it's going.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is this just a blanket transportation for anyone released from the jail?
This is for inmates that are being released from the jail every day. And I can tell you, probably 98% of them, we can get it tracked, are opioid dependent.
Well, but I think the opioid restrictions require it to be just for that. I mean, if you're transporting somebody who doesn't have an opioid problem, then you're
But if we
violating the
figure out,
restrictions.
no, but if we figure out the percentage of, we're giving a donation towards, we're not funding the whole amount, we are giving a portion. So again,
And
it
where are
is
they being transported to?
to the hospital.
Oh, so every inmate that gets on whatever vehicle
It's been
is
like that.
transferred
It's
to the
been going
hospital?
like this for years now.
yes.
About a year now. This has been going on. We don't see people in our downtown now as a result of this.
I think it's a great program, and I think even if opioid money doesn't qualify, we should fund this. I'm just concerned because the email I saw said it's transporting people from the jail to the depot in Kent.
They end up, PARTA comes to that facility. That is the depot. And Tammy, you had looked at the grant requirement. Maybe you can help me out here. But it should be fine.
Yeah, as long as the transportation is, I know what you're saying, Rob, is for opioid transportation to those facilities, to the people that need the help, that will qualify. We are supposed to get proof from, and I've talked to Mark Frazone a little bit. I'm still waiting on the request. I talked to him a little bit. He'll be able to back up this documentation with documentation, I'm hoping, but
We just got an announcement of a new opioid settlement.
correct.
Yeah.
So my suggestion is we ask Mr. Semino
Pardo.
to make sure.
And that's.
gateway.
That is that, I
thank
don't
you.
know if you saw my second email, that is the same national opioid settlement. It's going to be administered through the same.
Yeah, they all have
same-
basically the same restrictions, and
Right.
they are fairly loose.
So,
But my
I'm quite
concern is,
confident that Mark is figuring this out to be able to back up the information needed as far as the percentages of that.
well, I don't think it should be based on percentages. It should be only transporting people who qualify for opioid treatment or whatever. But anyway, if we get Mr. Semino's approval, then that's
Well,
fine.
yeah.
But I don't want us to be in violation of the settlement agreement.
yeah,
if they're-
Mr.
if they're-
Semino's pretty, sorry, Christina.
If
If they're transporting 5 people and 4 of them have opioid issues and there's another person that just happens to be on the route, they're still going to be transporting the other people. I mean, it's not,
Yeah, it's,
Is this just a partial funding source for
we're
PARTA
just a
to help
partial funding.
subsidize
We're
these
not
trips?
funding his
'Cause if
whole
it's-
thing. We're giving a
it's-
partial.
Yeah, I've worked at the scheduling office,
I
like
fully intended
eligibility
to
is
talk to Mr.
verified.
Semino about this too, because he's talked to me a lot. Every time we've done one of these, he's kind of looked it over, because I've been concerned about that
Well,
we're
I mean,
doing the right thing.
he's the one who's been front and center
Right.
for our collection of these settlements. I just want to make sure he is aware of the purpose for this funding.
Yeah.
So at this point, as long as I don't see any issues that Mr. Semino can find, I think it's a great use of $5,000 of our opioid money. Again, we are still working on the actual procedure for this, but this is one of those things that we don't want to see stopping, because then it's going to be our downtown and our police department. And it has been going very smooth for the most part. So this is a great program, and it does help people.
I'll make a quick comment. I talked to Mr. Frazone, probably a little over 2 months ago pertaining to this, and I'm backing up Mrs. Michael that he has more details than we actually need. If this doesn't go through, you're going to see what was in the past across the street, those drop-offs and maybe other places too that aren't needed. And I'm hoping that this will continue in the coming years.
Okay. With that being said, thank you, Paul. With
You're
that
welcome.
being said, Tyler and Matt, are we okay going forward with this?
Yeah, I'm okay moving it forward, again, with the approval and Mr. Semino's opinion on it. I think it's reasonable. 100% in favor of it.
Okay. So last item on the agenda is the safety director position, and I almost hate to even really get into this too much, but this just, I'm not expecting anyone to act on this, but I did want to bring this up tonight on my agenda just for discussion, since there are so many different changes and things that are going on with the changing of guard. And I have talked with some of our safety people and the mayor. And again, as you all know, years ago, the safety director was added to the mayor's position for the main reason of getting extra money. And that position, and it was strong-armed by the Charter Review. The Charter Review was pretty much afraid not to vote for this at the time, as we're talking about our checks and balances, because at the time, the mayor that was in office. But I don't know if anybody realizes a potential mayor that we could have next coming in, not knowing who it could be at any, if this position stays under the mayor, could have, or what a safety director actually does. I kind of used Rob's theory, and I did a chat GPT of Ravenna. And I did some research on the safety director. And it says in Ravenna, the mayor currently also serves as the city's safety director. Unless a separate position is created, according to the city's administration page, responsibilities of overseeing the police and fire departments as part of the safety director's role. Under the City of Ravenna's charter and Ohio law, the safety director's duties generally include supervising police department and fire departments, overseeing public safety operations and emergency response, managing discipline policies and administration within those departments, helping oversee public safety, budgets, and contracts, enforcing city ordinances, safety-related regulation, serving as the executive authority over safety, personnel, and operations under the mayor's directions. Some of the things that, when you think of as a safety director, it's almost scary in a sense that anyone could just come in and be in charge of our fire and police department and that authority. They're ultimately, there's a lot that they could do. Many Ohio cities appoint a dedicated public safety director to oversee police, fire, EMS, emergency management, safety, police, and administration. There's, Wadsworth is one that's in a lot of comparison to Ravenna that does that. It's something to think about. I know there are some concerns with, again, changing of guard and looking how things have changed, looking at the size of our police and fire departments now. Someone who understands the negotiations, that understands how policies and police and fire work. And so I really wanted to bring this to light, to think about if that is something that you would want to think about removing from the mayor's position and having a safety director itself, possibly just part-time. It's just discussion only. But the safety director does hold a lot of power under our charter. And I don't know if it's a fit having a mayor and the safety director together. That's just, I wanted to put it out there since, we've been talking about everything else and looking at changes for the future, and whether it goes to charter, whether we talk about it, whether we, it doesn't have to go anywhere. But again, I thought it was something else that is concerning to some people. Who's going to be their boss, and especially the size of the police department now. It's pretty big, and right now how things work and who they report to and understanding what happens, it's quite alarming. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I don't know if anyone has any thoughts for a quick discussion on this, or is it too much too soon?
I'd like to give it some more thought before we have a serious conversation about it. Now that it's out there, we can start thinking about the idea.
Need to do some casual reading through the code on this one. So.
I believe it's a very good idea for someone to have a background of some type in both fields, because a lot of times you could have someone that knows almost nothing, and I believe that's not a real good idea. And I understand completely what you commented a long time ago, without mentioning any names, why that was created. And I have to agree with you completely because of, I'll just say the individual, I'll leave it at that.
If you're asking for just first impressions.
Go ahead.
It's just first impressions. I would not be for an independent safety director. I think the current setup of the mayor being also the safety director is appropriate and has worked fine. But, we can discuss anything. Yeah.
Okay. A quick management update. One of our police officers who is new in training has decided to change and part ways. It was a good part ways, though. Ravenna was a little bit aggressive than what I think they thought, and maybe not the fit that they were looking for. But I will say it was I'm glad that things worked out sooner than later. No hard feelings at all, but they are seeing that, Ravenna has really, our officers are busy. They're very busy in the evenings, and, it can become a lot of mental health crisis, a lot of things that some people, depending on where they were born and raised or what they're around, aren't used to seeing. And so it's better sooner than later. And also I want to say it's great seeing our officers walking around town. I'm so happy to see this. I was driving through this weekend, early Saturday, and I saw one of our officers walking and talking to people, and it was in the afternoon, and there was a lot of people out walking, so that was a really good thing to see. So thank you. And at that being said, it is 7:38, and I will adjourn. I tried.
All right. 7:38, I will call the Streets and Sidewalks Committee meeting to order. First item on the agenda is to approve the contract with JD Striping Services. They were the best bid for our annual striping program. Bid came in at $85,911. They have striped our streets for many years. They're very good at what they do. And, any additional questions?
I'll just say I'm very familiar with their work for the past decades, I'll just say, and they're far more than adequate.
I do have a question. In our striping program, on our crosswalks, is the striping of our crosswalk a requirement the way that we do it, or have we opted for it? By that, I mean our crosswalks have just all of the stripes going one direction. We do not have a solid stripe across the walkway, where in some other places we see that. I've had concerns about people not observing the walkways because it's a little difficult to determine that that is the, so that's just a general question. I don't know, are we?
There's inconsistencies for sure.
Yeah, I'll answer that. We did switch to the crosswalks to differentiate, to show the motorists that there's something new. It's like if you live in the woods, you don't see the trees. So you see something odd, you recognize it. It is a state accepted standard for crosswalks. I also believe the tires, you know, when we stripe them not in the wheel path, they will stay white longer. Show that there is still a symbol of a crosswalk there. But that's just what we've chosen to do. You obviously don't like them?
Well,
They're different for
I actually pay quite of attention to crosswalks because I'm somebody that stops when someone's in the crosswalk. And I don't know if the way they currently are different enough to let the drivers know that it is a crosswalk. That's the only concern that I have about it. I mean, if that's what, if we're going to keep it the way it is, fine.
It's just
I
like
think I prefer a crosswalk that has the bar across.
It seems like the bars would be more of a designated space. I can see how you would say it would be something different and hopefully catch people's attention. Nothing's been brought to my attention where it's been a detriment, the change has been a detriment.
Yeah, we started this a couple years ago.
I think too, the signage helps, like the signs we have downtown. Obviously, people stop for that more than maybe ones outside of town that don't have the signage.
Yeah, I think to help address Dr. Calfee's point, I think especially if you're probably already doing this, but making sure every opportunity we have when we're doing striping and things like that, just to help standardize that, just to reduce, sorry, microphone, the inconsistencies that we have, just the way the messaging's more clear, and I think that expectation can be made more simple.
I think we are consistent across the city that it's the new way, right? It's everywhere in the city.
We just have to get to it, yeah.
Other communities have the bar across, but we don't in the city. But, I mean, I'm okay to keep looking at it, but
I mean, you don't have a choice, it's there now, so.
when it comes up next year, I'll bring it forward
Talk
again.
about it sooner next year.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll go ahead and move that item forward.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry, Larry. Yes? Before we move on?
Larry Selenius, 123 North Walnut. If you were to alternate back and forth with the two different types, you'd really end up with both. Each time it's done, you do one and then you do the other.
It would look like a ladder.
Thank you. Yeah, Cliff.
Did you ever go up and look to see how many people never use them at all?
Oh, yeah.
Go up and watch Guido in front of Guido's. Nothing against Guido's.
No.
But nobody uses the crosswalk, okay? And if you go down on Sunday morning at the Catholic Church and probably other churches, nobody uses the crosswalks. So I'm all right the way they are. Because nobody uses them anyway. It's kind of like fixing sidewalks. I understand we don't want tripping things, but it's just real tough to me for nobody's walking on the sidewalks much. They're always in the street. So why are we worrying about it too much?
And I've seen a lot of mopeds on the sidewalks.
Oh, well.
But are they in the streets because the sidewalks are unsafe? You could look at it two ways. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move that item forward. Next item is the alternate sidewalk program. Mr. Finney had a suggestion of maybe possibly doing away with that, so I'll let him explain his thoughts on that.
Sure. Many years ago, John Tonamonia thought it would be good that the city could help participate in costs. It was determined by council, not by ordinance or resolution, but just loosely a 1/3, 2/3 approach, which is what we have done for many years. With the paving levy that we have and the lack of participation, I am asking for council's approval to eliminate the program. I think we would budget $1,000 to $2,000 a year for participation. You know, the current ordinance states if a homeowner wants to repair their sidewalk, they can do that on their own. It is their responsibility. So we use that to incentivize. We possibly would reimburse a homeowner $100, maybe $200. There's obviously an administrative cost for Dominic or myself to physically measure, review the form, calculate the form. We send it to finance. Finance cuts a check, mails it to the resident. So at some point, we're losing money we're losing money by giving them money, but just the administration component for small sections of sidewalk, it question if it's even worth it anymore. I'm sorry?
Did we have anybody taking advantage of that program last year?
A couple, I believe Dominic handles the program, but most folks just don't want to do it. They think it's the city's responsibility and the city should do it.
I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, and as we've talked about when the paving program, that we are allocating more funds towards the sidewalks since we've been able to improve a lot of our roads. The majority of the money is going toward the roads, but we are starting to allocate more money towards sidewalks, which could help go a long way with that.
And when the program was going, we only reimburse 1/3 of the cost of the concrete, not the labor.
Correct.
So it's the huge, right? It's only the
Yes,
concrete
yes,
that we
that is
reimburse.
correct.
And so the huge cost of that repair is the labor, a yard of concrete, and we are, reimbursing 1/3 of it. That's where we have the situation that they're only getting like 100 back, but we have all this process of the form approved to payables to here to there, not worth it, so, in my opinion, so.
Yeah, I was okay with.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Eliminating the program at this time, and if we get some pushback, we can maybe have
Right.
another discussion.
Yeah.
Yes, Larry?
How is this related to repairing trip hazards?
Well, again, the ordinance specifically states that the property owner is responsible for sidewalks within the right-of-way. If a city tree has caused that slab to be raised, creating a trip hazard, the city will make those repairs. We've also made repairs when it's not just a tree, to help residents out or to act in a swift manner to make repairs. But our first line of defense is it the city's responsibility or not? We'll relay that to the property owner. Some property owners will have it fixed on their own. Others refuse to.
And right now, with many of the sidewalks that we're repairing, we are repairing them as part of a water project that's going on that street or in that location. So we're wanting to continue to expand, and actually this year, we're increasing the perimeter around the street project where we're repairing the sidewalks to catch other sidewalks which are in the immediate area. So we have a lot more budgeted for that. Hopefully, they're taking care of a lot of these trip hazards, but in those instances, is being paid for the whole thing by the grant or the city. Yeah, okay.
And just so we're clear about what our code says, and it's an interesting wording, it says the chairperson and the Board of Trustees may construct and repair sidewalks, blah, 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 and assess the expense thereof on the property in front of which such construction or repairs are made. I don't know who is the chairperson in the Board of Trustees, and I don't know why it's worded that way. But the way it's written, it looks like somebody from the city has to first determine it needs to be repaired, and then what follows is a whole process of advertising it in the paper and doing all this other stuff.
What's the ordinance that you're looking at?
It's 93.31. Actually, wow, this is a weird numbering. Am I looking at the right thing?
Nope.
Oh, somehow I got into somebody else's code. I'm sorry, never mind.
Well, that could be why it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I'm looking at the number, isn't it the same number?
And I'm okay with that, Mr. Harper, for that to
Okay.
move forward.
You'll take care of that,
Yep.
Mr.
Yep. Thank you.
Any other questions? No? Okay, good, thank you. Next item, just really a discussion item. Received a few concerns about speed limits, and not so much in our downtown where it's 25, but more so if you're heading west out of town on 59, right around the McDonald's Vine Street area, it goes from 25 to 35. And then heading east on Main Street, the other direction, right around the Green Acres apartment, Lawrence Street area, it goes from 25 to 35. So I guess the question is, are those areas not specifically downtown areas, but there's businesses, there's residential areas along those streets? Should they be dropped to 25, or is it okay to keep them at 35? I guess would be the conversation.
Well, it's still downtown, but the speed limit the way it is keeps the traffic flowing.
I'm not suggesting to lower downtown. It's where it goes from 25 to 35 on the outskirts.
Yes.
That is one complaint that I've received, Ward 4, like you say, from Freedom Street out, it jumps back up to 35, and people have brought concerns forward. At one time, I think I checked on it, and that's a state route, and the state route needs to stay at 35 unless it's in a downtown area. And so I don't know if we have the ability to change that. When I checked on it last time, I think that's what the answer was that we got, that state route determines that.
You'd have to go through ODOT.
Could we just request, or maybe just give a heads up to the police department to try, I know they're super busy, but to do extra patrol or to pay more attention to those areas? I mean, people are gonna slow down if they see a cruiser, or move the signs that we purchased.
Yeah.
We could move those, because those have not been moved.
We can put a flashing speed limit sign there.
Right.
One of the sides, whichever side you want.
Yeah, because those have not been moved, and maybe that change might encourage people to slow down.
It does seem to be more of a concern heading east out of town rather than heading west, so.
But ODOT's the only one that can change that.
Yeah, so, yeah, we could take a look at it. I'll talk to Mr. Finney. We can maybe price some of those.
Well, we still have
Warn-
one that we have not installed.
Oh.
And they
We
could be
can put one up
moved.
for sure, and the other ones could be moved also.
I think in general, the one on Highland has been pretty effective on slowing the traffic
Slows me down.
in that area, I don't know about the one on North Chestnut. I don't know about that one.
It's constantly flashing.
Yeah, but the Highland one, I think, has slowed people down.
I get your attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Mr. Bika said it
I
has
wouldn't be
helped tremendously.
Oh, he does? Okay.
Yeah.
So
he's
if we
right
have
there.
one sitting there, I mean, that's certainly a place that we could consider.
Yep, we'll get it installed.
So maybe next month we don't need to move any, we just, since
Well,
we
we'll get
have
one
one.
installed we'll put it on eastbound Main Street on the east east side of Freedom.
There you go.
Work out.
Yep.
And then we would have to relocate it, one of them on the west side of downtown,
Or purchase another one?
or purchase another one. I believe they were $5,000.
I was wondering how much they cost.
We could do that.
yeah. That's not
But
too
is the
bad.
problem that they're coming in from the east too fast and not slowing down to 25? Because then wouldn't we want
I
to,
don't, I didn't
No,
hear the complaint.
I think it's when they're exiting town, they're trying to get
They're
moving.
exiting town.
And it
Yeah, it's,
ends up being that some lights are getting run and things of that nature. So just another warning signal to slow it down. You're still in a,
Yeah.
okay. But yeah, I would be okay with that. There's no management update today, so at 7:54, I will adjourn Streets and Sidewalks Committee meeting.
all right, 7:54. I will call the Finance Committee to order. We only have one item, and it's still under discussion. It's the cannabis tax revenue. I did send out in the packet what I remember to be the various ideas people had for spending this money or not spending it. And those are listed there. If I forgot anything, please let me know. But those are some of the ideas right now. I'm sort of the opinion, and I believe maybe the administration is in agreement, to not really do anything until the end of this fiscal year.
Yeah, I talked to the mayor, and he was in favor of doing that currently.
I think, you know, there's a lot of moving parts in the economy out there, and our city is subject to some things beyond our control. Things like no more property tax. Nobody knows how that's going to turn out, but whether or not, you know, we're ripe for a recession in the near future. So I don't know. I mean, it's just, we have so many different ideas, and I think it's hard to pinpoint any one that we all kind of agree on. And I think we also it would be helpful to see by the end of this year what we actually collect. Because although it's been increasing, we don't know, maybe over the course of an entire year, when we have more data, you might see more variability at certain times of the year. So that's my suggestion, but I'm kind of opening up to anybody else's suggestion.
I would like to just collect it, and, you know, whether you have to put it into a special fund. I read through Faber's guidelines about it. We just have to identify how much is in there, and it can just go in there and sit.
Correct.
Right, so that's what my recommendation. Let us look at it for a year, see what it is. You know, we still have that discussion of, do we do it for a special project? Do we do it for an ongoing financing piece of something? What do we do? I'd prefer just to collect it right now.
I'll echo that thinking, and it helps us stay more flexible for whatever our needs are over time, because to Rob's point, we can't predict the future that well. So I think planning to accommodate whatever strange changes might come down the path would be wise.
Plus, we'll have a little bit more of a nest egg. Should we decide to spend it on something, and maybe something will come up in the interim, that a one-time funding initiative that we could use the money for.
Did you say what our first quarter amount was that we received?
We just got another 31,000
So
something.
it- again, it held right around 30.
It's staying consistent
Okay.
month to month right now.
Which is $360,000 for a year.
So my question is, what do we, if residents ask what the plan is for this?
Rainy day fund if you need a general characterized answer.
We're going to give it some time. I think.
I think
you know,
it's a new
just
enough-
giving us some time to figure it out.
It's a new enough revenue source that we want a full year's worth to sort of evaluate.
How consistent it's going to be.
Yeah, and also with a little bit of uncertainty with our revenue going forward this year, we want to be more conservative. I mean, that's the best messaging I can suggest you make. All right, well, I didn't have anything else planned for this committee meeting. It sounds like that's where, I'm gonna have this drop off from our committee, just because I don't see a lot of desire to move forward with any specific funding of this revenue source.
I think if there's a need, we can raise it with you at that point.
Yeah, feel free to in the future. Otherwise, there's nothing else on our agenda. Ms. Lawrence, I assume you'll have something for us for the committee of the whole, maybe then and now?
Then and nows, yeah.
Is that pretty much it?
Nothing else right now.
Okay. All right, so with that, I will adjourn the Finance Committee. We're done for tonight.